Here we go again, another train derailment, and it was near East Palestine, Ohio. Norfolk Southern train derails near East Palestine. No hazardous materials were reported, thank the Lord, at least that's what they're telling us. Train derailed in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, about 20 miles from East Palestine. And it's good to know that there were no hazardous materials on board. However, the question is, what is up with Norfolk Southern? I mean, what is up with Norfolk? I don't understand what's going on. Now, according to the reports, and here are some key points to those reports, 9 cars from Norfolk train derailed in Newcastle, Pennsylvania on Wednesday night, according to local officials. The train was carrying soybeans and paraffin wax, according to the Lawrence County Department of Public Safety. The Newcastle Police and Fire Departments said no hazardous materials were released. Now, a statement from Norfolk that the police department shared reads, at 11:59 p.m. Wednesday evening, 9 cars derailed outside of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. There were no hazardous materials involved and no injuries have been reported. Our crews responded immediately and are actively working at the site. Over 1,000 trains derail each year, and this is certainly unacceptable. It is a problem that we have in the United States of America. One train derailment is one too many, and it is really a problem that can be solved by reimagining and taking action on the rail system itself and having the proper oversight over these railroad companies, which heretofore has not happened. The rail industry has proven itself either unwilling or unable to do the right thing by its employees, by our environment. The only thing they are willing and able to do is to do right by their stockholders. That, make no mistake, they do that 100% excellent. But when it comes to their workers, when it comes to caring about the environment, when it comes to infrastructure, not so much at all. The current and past presidential administrations have not put in the proper safeguards to secure rail, starting with the workers. And I gotta say the same thing about the federal government. Either they're unwilling or unable to hold these people to account. And as many of you may recall, the Biden administration, along with the 117th Congress, stepped in the way of rail workers being able to go on strike for sick days. I mean, they stepped in the way. They put all their bodies in weight, and there were very few elected officials in either chambers of that Congress who stood side by side with the rail workers. Mayor, your thoughts on this latest derailment?
I mean, listen, we're looking at the reason we need unionized workers, more of them on the train. This is why we need 2 engineers. This is why these people need time off. This is why they need paid sick leave. This is why they need maternity and paternity leave. This is absolutely disgusting. And what the world will tell you, and in most cases it's true, that paraffin wax is not dangerous. But we all know it has it's made from saturated hydrocarbons, right? So it has a low melting point. And it tells you, even when you're using it, you should not use it at a temperature higher than 125. So when you're melting it to put it on your skin, if you go over 125, it could be dangerous, especially for people with high blood pressure. So if we're thinking about a train that derailed, fire, we're talking about extreme high temperatures. And also it's a petroleum product. So this idea that even this chemical that we use for skin problems can be a danger. And I think the fact that we're talking about it like it's not is all about, that's all of the spin that happens around this stuff. We're putting this chemical out there. We don't know what could have happened with that fire. It could have been extremely dangerous for people that have high blood pressure, skin irritation, or sensitive skin, or sensitive any chemicals. Like I said, it is a petroleum product. So the idea that even this continues to happen with this company, and we know there's dangers in train. 9 cars come off a track anyway by itself is a danger, right? On top of that, we see that they're carrying things that are not dangerous in traditional use, but mixed with the heat from a train crash, and you got a serious problem for anybody with chemical skin sensitivities. And I think that is ridiculous that we're not talking about why we need unions, and they keep putting it in our face. This is why you need unions.
Definitely need unions, need the federal government to act. And Mayor, you bring up some very good points. I know there were some reports of things seeping into the water. Once again, the water ain't there to absorb every rotten thing that we do as human beings and not care. I mean, you just laid out what could happen to people. What about the wildlife? How does that paraffin impact Mother Nature? And not just us. I mean, we got a whole ecosystem that we need to care about. And we've definitely shown a disregard for the ecosystem, God knows. So thank you for bringing up those points, Mayor. Now, about 50 cars. So I want people to remember what happened in East Palestine. You can't forget what happened to the people. About 50 cars of 150 car train derailed around 9 p.m. on February the 3rd in East Palestine, about a quarter mile west of Ohio-Pennsylvania state line, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. 20 cars contain hazardous materials. As we know that they set those materials on fire, including vinyl chloride, et cetera, et cetera. You all remember that, and the EPA said with some cars catching fire and some cars spilled their loads into an adjacent ditch. We know that they set those chemicals on fire. Black cloud emerged, and the people of East Palestine have not been safe or the same since. People in that community, they are still suffering. Let us not forget this. So I'm sure every time they hear about a train derailment, it's triggering. And for it to be so close to their community is constantly triggering. But let's take a look at what some of the residents are saying about what they're going through right now.
I had breathed in chemicals and I had a raw rash all over my lips that took about 3 weeks to get rid of. Just recently, like when it rains, my basement floods with chemicals and my nose starts gushing blood. I choke on it. It's terrible. And my house hasn't even been tested. It's not in priority for Norfolk Southern, but I'm getting sick every single day, whether it be a cough, a bloody nose, just fatigued. I mean, it's terrible.
And still to this point, it's still affecting you in that way.
Yes, and it's just been getting progressively worse for me. Like my cough, my allergies, my nosebleeds. At first it was one nosebleed here and there, and now it's constant. I have to worry about what I'm wearing because I'm scared I'm gonna get blood on my shirt.
Yeah, that video. Thank you, Status Quo, who has been doing a yeoman's job. They are down there on a regular basis, constantly telling the story of the residents of East Palestine. So, Mayor, we see this resident telling the story about what she's suffering. And what stuck out for me, I mean, everything that she said is very chilling. But when she said that her house has not been inspected because it's not on the priority list for Norfolk, well, her home and the homes of every resident in East Palestine should be on the priority list of the federal government and the state of Ohio.
Yeah, we talked about this on this very show a couple months ago about how the fact that their definition of what they need to check was designed by that company. And apparently she's one of those people who are feeling the effects of the negative effects of what happens when the cameras leave and big business pay their small fine and continue to potentially kill people when they have business practice like Norfolk Southern. This is absolutely disgusting. I feel so sad listening to this person talk about they don't even know what they can and can't wear out of their own wardrobe because of the fear that they may start bleeding. What a horrible existence just from living near a train track.
Yeah, nobody should have to live this way. And those multi-millionaires to billionaires, they living it up. Their family their families do not have to endure with that young woman just shared with us, and just multiply that. So again, the federal government is failing these residents. They control the keys. The Department of the Transportation sector failing. They are failing them. The state of Ohio, Governor DeWine, you're failing the people of East Palestine. They deserve better, and they deserve this to be treated like a 911, because it is a 911, because they got to live this every single day, every day.